that are in it. So think about that. So while you're doing that, I hope you will indulge me by allowing me to show you a music video. I really love them. That I think relates to this story. Yet again, not promoting drug use. This is a group called My Terrible Friend, and they're playing Holy Roller Novocaine by the Kings of Leon. This can give you, a little bit of time to think, and I hope it plays out correctly like it's supposed to. So, here we go.
My darling, you look lovely. I come to lay you down, uncover your hair and submit to me. We'll make a joyful sound. Well, I don't care if you're by yourself or all alone when you need my help. Just keep that smile on your pretty face, 'cause you don't have much I can't take away. Don't you worry, babe, you won't feel a thing. Just close your eyes, slowly rolling Novocaine. Lord's gonna get us back, Lord's gonna get us back. Lord's gonna get us back, Lord's gonna get us back. I know, Lord's gonna get us back, Lord's gonna get us back. Lord's gonna get us back, Lord's gonna get us back. You'll be hearing me coming, but I can't come inside. I'll be out back in my white Cadillac. Won't you join me for a ride? We'll go up to the mountain tops, and I'll show you all of the goods I got. Don't look back, keep your eyes ahead. This could be the night that the moon goes red. Don't you worry, babe, you won't feel a thing. Just close your eyes, slowly rolling Novocaine. Lord's gonna get us.
So, someone were a few minutes late in getting in, and they didn't see. I was hoping you would indulge me by allowing you to show this lovely video. I think it relates to this story very much in that we are flawed beings, and we do flawed things, but the Lord is always there, and He's going to get us back, either punish us or bring us back into the fold, right? Hopefully the latter. So, the next place we start is 19:7. The priest shall wash his garments and bathe his body in water. After that the priest may re-enter the camp, but he shall be impure until evening. So basically, what we need is water, and that's it. He who performs the burning shall also wash his garments in water, bathe his body in water, and be impure until evening. A man who is pure shall gather up the ashes from the cow and deposit them outside the camp in a pure place, to be kept for water of lustration for the Israelite community. It is for purification. He who gathers up the ashes of the cow shall also wash his clothes and be impure until evening. So you have to think about that is really interesting here, because the very important theme of this section comes up, and that is how important the purification properties of water are and the power that water commands. Further, one might say that since they do not become pure until evening, and we're using the Arcadian calendar, which is a lunar cycle calendar, it is if they don't become pure until the next day, which is really interesting to see that could have been the logic there. You never know the translation. So, now the pure person stores the ashes so that they can use them later. But think about it. It must be like quite the work to get the cow out and set up the pyre and burn it down all the way to ash. And you're probably really dirty afterwards, and you might have guts or gore somewhere that didn't burn off from the thing. So of course you should wash. How great is that? But what does that really have to do with us today? It's good to bathe and be clean and purify yourself and your soul. That's about it. So let's go to 19:11. He who touches the corpse of any human being shall be impure for 7 days. He shall purify himself it on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, and then be pure. If he fails to purify himself on the 3rd and 7th days, he shall not be pure. Whoever touches a corpse, the body of a person who has died, and does not purify himself, defiles the Lord's tabernacle. That person shall be cut off from Israel. Since the water of lustration was not dashed on him, he remains impure. His impurity is still upon him. Interesting that it repeats that. But what we can see here now that develops is this idea of 3 and 7. 3 and 7 are really common reoccurring numbers in the Bible. 40, 3, 7. 7's just in every culture has some sort of significance. So it's really interesting to see that's coming in. And then what I really like, and that's because I'm just a big dork, is that 3 is the perfect number. It definitely is, in my opinion. It's a perfect prime number. It's the first prime number you get to besides 1. When it's squared, it becomes 9, which is depicted in a square. And 3 is the amount of times one usually tests something to see if you get accurate information. So I really love that number. 3 squared is 9. I was born at 9:09 on the 9th. So 3 and 9. It's really interesting to see the repetition and how through the ages and time and as you go on, the numbers change and blur and you get interesting repetitions. Like Noah, 40 days and 40 nights. 40 years in the desert. So, from this we also learn that if one doesn't purify himself and then enters the tabernacle, they will be cut off from Israel. The word used here is charet. Although a common punishment in Torah, some see it as only a shunning, where others like to believe it is a prescribed death. So it's really not clear here. It's more of a severe punishment, I guess. It would be really interesting to know what it really is. So 14 is where we are. This is the ritual. When a person dies, in a tent, whoever enters the tent and whoever in the tent shall be impure 7 days. And every open vessel with no lid fastened down shall be impure. And in the open, anyone who touches a person who has killed or has died naturally, or human bone, or grave, shall be impure 7 days. Some of the ashes from the fire of purification shall be taken for the impure person, and fresh water shall be added to them in a vessel. And a person who is pure shall take hyssop, which looks like this, and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it on the tent, and on the vessels and people who were there, or on him who touched the bones, or person who was killed, or died naturally, or the grave. The pure person shall sprinkle it upon the impure person on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, thus washing his clothes and bathed in water, and at nightfall he shall be pure. If anyone has become impure, fails to purify himself, that person shall be cut off from the congregation, for he has defiled the Lord's sanctuary. The water of lustration was not dashed on him, and he was impure. So yet again, we get this idea of 3 and 7 and purification, how important water really is. And I have very little idea. There's so much research that I could have done. There's so much great midrash about this particular section, but I just didn't have time. But one can kind of see the scope of this ritual. It has many implications. So for cases of death or impurity in general, having, the grave, the bone, I wonder if the verse 19:15, which was, and every open vessel with no lid fastened down shall be impure. I wonder if that was, a protection idea there for others, as, that might have been the last thing they were drinking, and it could have been poisonous or molded wouldn't really kill you, but you get the idea. So that shall be so, and they'll just be shunned if they do not follow this ritual of bathing. And that's a really interesting idea, that you have to conform to this just because. Charet is a word that means a spiritual and or physical separation. Separating oneself from Chai Yisrael is one who does when he does not follow Torah. Oh, very good. I am so glad you could define that for me, because my Hebrew is horrible. I have a first grade level. But that's great. JENSBU or BJUHL. It's nice to have your expertise here. So now I guess we'll go on to chapter 20. So the Israelites arrived in a body at the wilderness of Zin, and on the first new moon, and on the people stayed at Kadesh. Miriam died there and was buried there. The community was without water, and they joined against Moses and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moses, saying, "If only we had perished when our brothers perished at the instance of the Lord. Why have you brought the Lord's congregation into the wilderness for us and our beasts to die there? Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us to this wretched place, a place with no grain, or figs, or vine, or pomegranates? There is not even water to drink." So we've got the uprising. So, an open vessel can become impure without knowing it. So an open vessel which is left out of sight is to be considered impure. Very good. Yet again, something left open out of your sight, you wonder what's in it. So, at this point that we've gotten to, it's been, 38 some odd years of wandering. And the people again are beginning to complain again, just as they did in last week's portion, as they are apt to do in all those harsh conditions. So they're getting close to 40 years here. That now Miriam's dead. The miraculous well of water that followed the group is gone. So the Talmud connects Miriam's death to that of the red cow by saying that just as the ashes of the red cow atone for sin, the death of a righteous person does the same. Thus, in the wake of a good person's death, we are moved to re-examine our own lives. This is how these two chapters are reconciled to be related. The death, how to purify, how to be ready for death and dead bodies, because now they've settled in Kadesh and people are dying. The older generation's dying out. It's almost time to, move forward. But, so the people have quarreled with Moses. And we're going to read chapter 26 through 8. And Moses and Aaron came away from the congregation to the entrance of the tent of meeting. And they fell on their faces. The presence of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, You and your brother Aaron take the rod and assemble the community. The rod is also sometimes called the staff. And before their very eyes order the rock to yield its water. It's also said in some other versions, speak to the rock and ask for water. Thus you shall produce water from them for the rock, and provide drink for the congregation and for their beasts. So here we go. Moses has his marching orders. The sages teach that Hashem had created a rock that he used often as a source of miraculous water. This rock is said to be the one which was revealed in Genesis 21:19 to Hagar by an angel when Ishmael was dying of thirst. It is said to be the rock in Exodus 17:6 that Moses was commanded to draw water from 40 years earlier with his staff. Ramban explains that after Miriam's death, the rock was hidden, thus causing the ruckus amongst the people. The problem that is about to rise is all about Moses' behavior. So, oh dear, I pressed the wrong button, and now it's weird. Sorry, I can't see anything. There we go. No, we don't. Sorry. It's one of those days for me, guys. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he had commanded him. Moses and Aaron assembled the congregation in front of the rock, and he said to them, Listen, you rebels, shall we get water for you out of this rock? And Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod. Out came copious water, and the community and their beasts drank. So here's the trouble, he's not looked for the rock. The question here is the sin of Moses and Aaron that is now placed upon them. Rashi takes the view of the striking of the rock. Rambam takes the view that it was the anger of Moses for not searching further for the correct rock. And further sages take the standpoint that the miracle was to occur by Hashem's rule, with speech rather than by the force of man striking the rock. So, what do you think about that? Which one do you think was the punishment? Do you think maybe they were all it? Or, what are your thoughts on that? I'm very curious to know. So, we'll go to 2014. From Kadesh, Moses sent messengers to the kingdom of Edom. Quotation mark. Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardships that have befallen us, that our ancestors went down to Egypt, and that we dwelt in Egypt a long time, and that the Egyptians dealt harshly with us and our ancestors. We cried to the Lord, and he heard our plea, and he sent a messenger who freed us from Egypt. Now we are in Kadesh, the town on the border of your territory. Allow us then to cross your country. We will not pass through fields or vineyards, and we will not drink water from wells. We will follow the king's highway, turning off neither to right nor to the left until we have crossed the territory. So, that's very interesting. We'll get to that in a second. The Torah says Hashem said, "Speak to the rock." Exactly. I'm really oddly meticulous, and I have the Orthodox edition, and I have the Modern Reform edition, and I'm reading out of the Conservative edition. The one edition that I don't have in the large enough size is the JPS, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Jens, awesome. His name is Jens. Jens is being so helpful tonight. Thank you. So this passage that I just read, you heard how staunchy it was. It was a passage unique because it reads in the way a formal letter of the time would. So basically, this is an attempt by Moses to appeal to Edom and a guarantee that they would come to no trouble if they were allowed to pass. They wouldn't cause anything. So, oh, the JPS really is the King James Version. Yeah, and I have that. I collect Bibles. I even have the Book of Mormon, and I'm waiting for the Quran. I think I can't go out and buy it. I gotta wait until somebody gets it. So not losing too much there if you have the, yeah. So, yeah, I have, reading all these editions. It's good and bad. You learn so much. So, 18. But Edom answered him, "You shall not pass through us, else we will go out against you with sword." "We will keep to the beaten track," the Israelites said to him, "and if we or our cattle drink your water, we will pay for it. We will ask only for passage on foot. It is but a small matter." So here's yet another appeal that is made to let them pass Edom peacefully by Moses. So Edom would not let Israel cross their territory, and Israel turned away from them. He's brought out his super army, and so he can't. There's just nothing to combat it. They just have to go around. And I looked and looked and looked for the map that's in the Reform Torah and commentaries, and I couldn't find it. And it's just lovely. If you're gonna start with a starter one, it's probably a really good one because it's poetic and really informative and whatnot. So we've gotten to 2022. Setting out from Kadesh, the Israelites arrived in a body at Mount Hor. At Mount Hor, on the boundary of the land of Edom, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Let Aaron be gathered to his kin. He is not to enter the land that I have assigned to the Israelite people, because you disobeyed my commandment about the waters of Meribah. Take Aaron and his son Eleazar and bring them up on Mount Hor. Strip Aaron of his vestments and put him on his son Eleazar. There Aaron shall be gathered unto the dead." Moses did as the Lord had commanded. They ascended Mount Hor in the sight of the whole community. So he's being punished, but he's being rewarded for his, he's being punished for his acts with Moses and being with Moses and getting tired from just dealing with all the, griping. So Aaron's going to be stripped of his priestly vestments, but he's going to get to see his son be his successor. So this is what would have been warned. And as the sages say, he saw how a great father was followed by a great son. In regards to the death of Aaron, the Hebrew implies that he died through, quote, "death by the kiss of Hashem," unquote, saying that his soul freely left in order to become united with the holiness of the Shekinah, that which was outside. It's really interesting to see, he doesn't get to go, but yeah, it's so much better than a Dementor's kiss. It does take your soul, but it takes it to be union with that is the universe, the great existential existence that one can easily, stay in Judaism, or most religions, and be perfectly happy when they learn and whatnot. So, we get here, they set out from Kadesh, verse 28, Moses stripped Aaron of his vestments and put them on his son Eleazar. And Aaron died there on the summit of the mountain. When Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain, the whole community knew that Aaron had breathed his last breath. All the house of Israel bewailed Aaron 30 days. 30 is another good number that's repeated. So we can see here the reward and the punishment and the good and the bad that we all seem to receive in life, right? Back and forth. So this is, what we can learn from them following, wandering around. But here we're going to really kind of go off the narrative now. We're not laws. Well, that was our first chapter. Second chapter was obeying the laws and punishment for it. And now our third chapter is going to be the actual narrative, where we get down to the real meat of it. Oh, where's Patrick? Patrick is working on the God Project right now. He's out in the field. I talked to him this morning about stuff, and he's out taking care of business and getting stuff done. So it's going to be a really neat project when it comes out. So chapter 21. When the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negev, learned that Israel was coming by the way of Athram, he engaged Israel in battle and took some of them captive. Then Israel made a vow to the Lord and said, "If you deliver this people into our hand, we will proscribe their towns." The Lord heeded Israel's plea and delivered up the Canaanites, and they and their cities were proscribed, so that the name was Hormath. Lots of just, difficult names. And it's really, he's sowing seeds, yeah. It's really interesting that they're starting to battle. And, what we have is, the reminder that we were a warrior tribe. So, here's the reminder that not only is the Jewish nation one of prayer, but also a historic tribe of warriors. That's what I said. So 21:4 to 21:9. They set out from Mount Hor by the way of the Sea of Reeds to skirt the land of Edom. But the people grew restive on the journey, and the people spoke against God and against Moses. "Why did you make us leave Egypt to die in the wilderness? There's no bread, no water, and we have come to loathe this miserable food." So the Lord sent serpents against the people. They bit the people, and many of the Israelites died. So what happens? Really interesting thing. The Lord says to Moses, "Make a serpent figure and mount it on a standard. And when anyone was bitten by a serpent, he would look at the copper serpent and recover." So it's okay to make a copper serpent, but it's not okay to make a golden calf. That's kind of in the field. Yeah, he's sowing seeds in the field. He's not really the farmer type. That's me usually in the overalls. So this is kind of serving as the narrative, so you can think of why this section is included. Why are the people, they're being punished again? They've walked off the path, and so it sucked. So verse 10. The Israelites marched on the encamped at Oboth. They set out from Oboth, and entered at Ibrim, in the wilderness bordering on Moab in the east. From there they set out to the camp in Wadi Zaid. From there they set out and camped beyond the Arnon, that is, in the wilderness that extends from the territory of the Amorites. For Aaron is the boundary of the Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Therefore, the book of the wars of the Lord speaks of Web and Suppah, and the wadis, the Aaron, with its tributary wadis stretching along the settled country of Ar, hugging the territory of Moab. And further from there to Beer, which is well where the Lord said to Moses, Assemble the people that I may give them water. So, they've marched, they've come to the mountain, they've gone through the tribulations. For the most part, this has been a shortening of their journeys. They've been walking through just taking land. So can you think of so now Israel has become strong. So the tales of their glory in battle are being summed up here. And yet again, it is a reminder that there's both a spiritual world and a physical world. And I would say that for me personally, I have to watch my back in both and be careful not to tarry or sit upon a fence, for life is a fragile state and one I definitely wish to continue. Definitely no copper serpents or serpent bites. So the next thing, verse 17. Then Israel sang this song. And in the other versions, the Orthodox says the poets, and the Reform says the bards, and this says then Israel sang the song. So that's a really interesting thing, and I like the way this song is translated. Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the chieftains dug, which the nobles of the people started, with maces, their own staffs, and from Midbar to Matana, and from Matana to Nahal, and from Nahal to Baalmoth, and from Baalmoth to the valley that in the country of Moab, at the peak of Pisgah, overlooking the wasteland. So, they've singing. What is this singing? You know, before we have Moses praying. I mean, what better way to celebrate than to sing the songs, to rally the people around the strength and victory. You know, it's interesting to note that it's a song now being used more than prayer. You know, does this remind you of anything? To me, it reminds me of the shifts between the different groups in Judaism, and of the glory I see in the narratives and the poetry and the commentary and the thought that's put into the modern Sidur's content, and how beautiful it is to hear it said. I have terrible pronunciation in most languages, but I always feel a connection when I pray or sing and praise in my daily prayers, even more so when I use Hebrew. So, do you feel like this? And do you feel something different? Do you feel nothing at all? Does this whole singing thing not really get with you? And can you see the song at the beginning? We're coming to singing. The Lord is going to get us back. It's all there. It's just a little spacey. So, what are we going to get to? We're going to get to 31 is where we left off. No, let's see, where we left off was 21. Israel now sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through your country. We will not turn off into the fields or vineyards, and we will not drink water from the wells. We will follow the king's highway until we have crossed your territory. But Shion would not let Israel pass through his territory. Shion gathered all his people and went out against Israel in the wilderness. He came to Yaz and engaged Israel in battle. But Israel put them to the sword and took possession of their land, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and as far as the Amorites. For Az marked the boundaries of the Amorites. Israel took all those towns, and Israel settled in all those towns of the Amorites in Heshbon and independences. Now Heshbon was the city of Shion, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land from him as far as Arnon. Therefore the bards recite. Here again we get the singing. And Jens, he says for him he can't help but singing when he prays. Oh how glorious it is to just sway with the beat and hear the beautiful words, even in English, such poetry that it's lovely. Davening or singing doesn't matter. It's the intent and what's in your heart. Exactly. That's just the glorious way to kind of offer up time and center oneself and figure out what's going on. JJ says he has a bad singing voice, so he's down to sing until I hear myself. Yeah, I have, if you can tell, I have like perfect monotone voice. I can do slight inflections, but I have a monotone voice, so when you hear me sing, it's really funny. I can take any song and ruin it. William Shatner style. It's great. But, so now the bards are reciting, "Come to Heshbon, firmly built and well founded in Shion city. For fire went forth from Heshbon, flame from Shion city, consuming Ar of Moab, the lords of Bamoth of the Arnon. Woe to you, O Moab! You are undone, O people of Hamosh. His sons are rendered fugitives, and his daughters captive, by an Amorite king, Shion. Yet we have cast them down utterly. Heshbon along with Dibon, I don't know. We have wrought desolation at Nopah, which is hard by Medeba." Wow. Mouthful, right? So, yet again, a shortening of all the victory and moving the story along and making a narrative and kind of the beginning ideas for later psalms that will be written. So it's a good way to decomplicate things, and it's more conquest of the people of Israel. And interesting, like we said, here we don't really have Moses speaking. We're just conquering and singing praises on our own. So verse 33, "They marched on and went up the road to Bashan, and King Or of Bashan with all the people came out to Edrei to engage them in battle. But the Lord said to Moses, 'Do not fear him, for I give him all his people and his land into your hand. You shall do to him as you did to Shion, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. They defeated him and his sons and all his people until no remnant was left. Him, and they took him possession of his country.'" So, war. Really, really just we're gonna take land. It's ours. We're here. We're the new generation. We're going to be able to sing to the Lord and have praise with Hashem and be more independent. So the last bit we have to end this section is chapter 22, and it's the first verse. The Israelites then marched on and encamped in the steeps of Moab, across the Jordan from Jericho. Aha! We set up our tale for next week, which I always enjoy. What a great and complicated and interesting way to end this week's portion. So, I just thank you guys so much for having me here to talk with you. Is there anything else you wish to speak of? We still have 10 minutes. We got through. It was a little longer today. How did that video? So why did all the Luddites, no offense meant, insist that we get out of Judea, Samaria? You know, that is a question I wouldn't even know where to start. In fact, let me show you something really great. Here's what I made for this week. Aha! Here comes the sales pitch. PayPal. Please, please donate so that we continue to have resources and internet and whatnot. So you can do that through PayPal at PunkTorah@gmail.com. Now, if there's anything you would like to donate besides money, time, crafts, abilities, programming, all sorts of things, please don't hesitate to email Patrick at PunkTorah.org, and you can, maybe lead a service or teach a class yourself. And the last bit for me, my email address is Rivka, RIVKA, at PunkTorah.org. So please, please tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, how it worked, what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear, what times work well for you. Let me know what's going on, tell me how I'm doing, give me some feedback. So thank you so much, guys, and I hope to see you again very soon.